Blood and dust. Those were the only two things Sarah Callahan could see clearly through the scope. Blood on her shoulder where shrapnel had torn through, dust rising from the valley floor where her unit was pinned down. 12 days. That's how long it had taken to go from invisible to indispensable. Her hand pressed against the wound. The bleeding was steady but manageable. She'd deal with it later. Right now, 20 Taliban fighters were advancing on Alpha Team's position, and if she didn't stop them in the next 90 seconds, every SEAL in that valley would die. Through the Barrett's scope, she counted targets. 18 visible on the North Ridge. 19. 20. All moving with purpose toward the kill zone. Kowalski, they're flanking. Her voice cut through the radio static. 3 o'clock, 40 meters. The response crackled back. Panic, suppressive fire. The sounds of men fighting for their lives. Sarah's breathing slowed. 4 counts in, 7 held, 8 released. The rhythm her father had drilled into her 10,000 times. 1,240 meters to the farthest target. Wind gusting at 9 knots. Her shoulders screaming, her hands rock steady. "Dad," she whispered to the empty air. "I hope you're watching this." The first target settled into her crosshairs. Squad leader, radio in hand, she squeezed. But that shot, the one that would change everything, was still 12 days away, 12 days earlier. The medical supply tent at Forward Operating Base Dwyer smelled like sterile gauze and regret. Sarah stood between shelving units, checking inventory for the 3rd time that morning. Not because it needed checking. The supplies were exactly where she'd left them 6 hours ago, organized with a precision that would have made a surgeon proud. She checked because it gave her something to do. Something normal. Something that didn't require her to be anything other than what her name tape said: Callahan. Corpsman. Supply. Combat gauze packages lined the top shelf. Quick clot powder below that. Cat tourniquets hanging from hooks arranged by size. IV bags suspended like clear ornaments. Morphine ampules locked in the controlled substance cabinet. Everything organized according to March protocol. Massive hemorrhage first. Then airway. Respiration. Circulation. Hypothermia prevention. Most supply clerks wouldn't know March from a marching band, but Sarah wasn't most supply clerks. Outside the tent, boots crunched on gravel. Male voices, SEALs heading back from the range. The steady thump of helicopter rotors somewhere in the distance made her hand twitch. Just a twitch, barely noticeable. Muscle memory from a life she'd left behind. She forced her hand still and went back to counting bandages she'd already counted. The tent flap rustled open without warning. "Hey, supply!" Chief Petty Officer Garrett Kowalski filled the entrance. 6'2", 230, all muscle and skepticism. His M4 carbine hung from a single-point sling like it was welded to his body. Dust covered his uniform from the range. Sarah didn't look up from her clipboard. "Corpsman Callahan, Chief." "Right." He stepped inside, letting the flap close behind him. The tent suddenly felt smaller. "Need 30 quick clot packs. Deploying tomorrow." Now she looked up, met his eyes. "You currently have 42 packs, Chief. That's 12 over standard loadout for your team size." Kowalski blinked. "You know my inventory. I know everyone's inventory. It's my job. Your job is to hand out supplies when we ask for them. My job," Sarah said evenly, "is to ensure operators have what they need when they need it. You don't need more quick clot. You need chest seals. You only have 8. For a 12-man team going outside the wire, that's inadequate." Wish silence stretched between them. Kowalski studied her with new interest. "You keep track of everyone's medical gear, yes?" "Why?" Sarah set down her clipboard. "Because when someone gets hit, they won't have time to check their supplies. They need to know their gear is complete and functional. I ensure it is." Kowalski's expression shifted. Not quite respect. Somewhere between surprise and curiosity. "That's more than I'd expect from supply." "Then your expectations need adjustment, Chief." He almost smiled, almost. Then grabbed a box of chest seals from the shelf she'd indicated without being told where they were. "You're thorough, I'll give you that." "I'm competent. There's a difference." This time he did smile. "Fair enough. Thanks, Callahan." The tent flap closed behind him. Sarah exhaled slowly, picked up her clipboard, made a notation. Kowalski's team chest seals restocked to 16. Mission ready. Her hand was steady again. Good. Outside, the afternoon sun hammered down on FOB Dwyer like divine punishment. 108 degrees. Helmand Province in August meant heat that turned vehicles into ovens and made body armor feel like wearing a furnace. Sarah stepped out of the tent at 1400 hours, squinting against the brightness. The Hindu Kush Mountains rose in the distance, indifferent and eternal. That's when she saw the dress uniform. Rear Admiral Victor Brennan stood near the operations center, deep in conversation with the FOB commander. White summer uniform despite the heat, ribbons cascading down his chest, silver stars gleaming on his collar. He turned mid-sentence. His eyes found hers across 50 meters of empty space. For one heartbeat, the entire FOB seemed to hold its breath. Then recognition flashed across his weathered face, followed immediately by something else. Understanding. Warning. Keep your head down. The message was as clear as if he'd shouted it. Sarah gave the smallest nod. Message received. Admiral Brennan returned the gesture. Equally small, equally significant. Then continued his conversation as if nothing had happened. Sarah turned and walked back into her tent before anyone could notice the silent exchange. Inside, alone again, she pulled out the photograph she kept in her cargo pocket. Worn edges, creased from too many foldings. Her father in Marine Corps dress blues, holding his rifle with the casual competence of someone who'd carried one for 20 years. The inscription on the back was faded but still legible. Use both hands, baby girl. Heal when you can. Fight when you must. I'll always be with you. Love, Dad. She traced the words with her thumb. The paper was soft from handling. I'm keeping my promise, Dad, she whispered. Just like I swore. The tent canvas rippled in the hot wind. No answer came. She hadn't expected one. Sarah tucked the photo back into her pocket right next to her heart and returned to her inventory. That night, sleep didn't come easily. Sarah lay in her bunk in the female enlisted quarters. 3 other women shared the plywood structure, all asleep, all dreaming of somewhere that wasn't Afghanistan. She stared at ceiling boards and thought about promises. The first promise was to her father, made in a sterile hospital room 3 years ago, while lung cancer ate him from the inside. His hand in hers, morphine keeping the worst pain at bay, but not all of it. Promise me something, baby girl. Anything, Dad. Promise you'll use those hands I trained to save lives, not take them. But I taught you to protect people. That's what you'll do as a corpsman, healing. That's your path now. Dad, I don't... Sarah, his grip tightened, weak but insistent. Your mother can't lose you the way she's losing me. Promise you'll stay safe. Promise you won't pick up a rifle in combat. The tears had come then, hot and unstoppable. I promise. Say the words. I promise I'll never shoot in combat. I promise I'll only use my hands to heal people. He'd smiled. Barely. That's my girl. Now go be the best damn corpsman the Navy ever saw. 2 weeks later, he was gone. The second promise was to her mother. Made at the funeral while rain drummed on the tent and a Marine honor guard folded the flag into a triangle. I can't lose you too, Sarah. You won't, Mom. Promise me. Promise you'll never do what he did. Promise you'll never be a shooter. I already promised, Dad. I'll keep it. I swear. Margaret Callahan had held her so tight, Sarah thought her ribs would crack. Thank you. Thank you. 2 promises, both sacred, both unbreakable. Sarah rolled over in her bunk, touched the dog tags under her shirt. 2 of them, hers and her father's. Metal warm from her skin. I'm keeping my word, she said to the darkness. I'm just here to heal. Morning came too early. The emergency briefing was called for 0700. Sarah wasn't normally included in mission briefings. Supply clerks didn't need to know operational details. But Admiral Brennan had specifically requested her presence. She arrived at the operations center 5 minutes early. The room was already crowded. 12 SEALs. Captain Wyatt Dalton at the front. Maps on the screens. The air thick with anticipation in Copenhagen. Sarah stood against the back wall, trying to be invisible, trying to disappear into the plywood. Dalton started without preamble. Gentlemen, we have actionable intelligence on a Taliban safe house, 12 clicks north. Small operation. Quick hit. In and out before dawn. The satellite image appeared behind him. Cluster of buildings in a valley. Mountains on 3 sides. 4 Humvees. 12 operators. Standard raid package. Lieutenant Fisher provides medical support. Nods around the room. Routine. They'd done this 100 times. Admiral Brennan's voice cut through the casual confidence. Captain, I'm recommending you take Corpsman Callahan as backup medical. Every head turned. Sarah felt the weight of their stares, felt herself shrinking against the wall. Kowalski spoke first. Sir, with respect, Callahan's supply. She hasn't been tested outside the wire. She's a qualified Navy corpsman, Brennan said calmly. Top 5% of her class at Great Lakes. Field Medical Services School honor graduate. She's more than qualified. Dalton frowned. Admiral, I need people I can rely on and contact. Callahan has zero combat experience. Then she'll get some tonight. The tone left no room for argument. Dalton held Brennan's gaze for 3 seconds, then nodded. Yes, sir. Callahan, you're coming. Sarah's heart kicked against her ribs. This wasn't the plan. Staying invisible was the plan. Staying safe was the plan. But orders were orders. Yes, sir, she said quietly. The briefing continued. Routes, timelines, radio frequencies, rules of engagement. Sarah absorbed every word while her mind screamed. After the briefing, Dalton caught her arm. Callahan, a word. They stepped into the hallway. Seals filed past, heading to prep gear. I don't know what your relationship is with Admiral Brennan, Dalton said without preamble. Don't care. But if you're on my operation, you pull your weight. Can you handle trauma care? Yes, sir. Under fire. I've trained for it, sir. Training isn't the same as doing. I understand, sir. Dalton's pale blue eyes searched her face, looking for weakness, for doubt. You scared? Sarah met his gaze. Terrified, sir. Something flickered in his expression, almost approval. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. Just don't let it paralyze you. I won't, sir. You'll stay in the Humvee unless I specifically tell you otherwise. Fisher handles all medical. Your backup supplies. Nothing more. Clear. Crystal, sir? Good. Wheels up at 2200. Be ready. He walked away, leaving Sarah alone in the hallway with her racing heart and the weight of 2 promises pressing against her chest. The afternoon was preparation. Sarah worked in the supply tent alone, packing her medical ruck with methodical precision. Every item had a purpose. Every pocket had a priority. Side pouches first, cat tourniquets, 4 of them, the kind that could stop arterial bleeding in 20 seconds if you knew what you were doing, which she did. Her father had made her practice tourniquet application until she could do it blindfolded one-handed while reciting the Constitution. If you can't do it half asleep and shot full of adrenaline, he'd said, you can't do it when it counts. Top pouch, vented chest seals for sucking chest wounds, the kind that killed in minutes without immediate treatment. Main compartment, combat gauze with hemostatic agents. Z-fold packed and ready. She could pack a wound in 30 seconds. Had done it on training dummies 1,000 times. IV supplies, 18-gauge catheters for fast fluid replacement. Hex 10 bags, normal saline. Pressure bags for rapid infusion. Needle decompression kit, 14-gauge needles for tension pneumothorax. Second intercostal space mid-clavicular line. She knew the anatomy like her own name. Surgical airway kit, cricothyrotomy equipment, for when nothing else worked and someone was dying from a blocked airway. Morphine, fentanyl, pain management mattered. Suffering mattered, 45 pounds when she finished. She lifted the ruck, testing the weight, adjusted straps. It sat properly on her small frame, weight distributed across hips and shoulders. The tent flap opened. Petty Officer First Class Riley Mackenzie stepped inside. 31, red hair, sharp green eyes that noticed everything. Heard you're rolling with us tonight. Apparently. First time outside the wire. Yes. Mac moved closer, watching Sarah's hands as they continued organizing gear. You pack like you've done this before. I haven't. Your hands say different. Mac picked up one of the tourniquets, examined it. This is positioned for immediate access. Side pocket, right where your hand naturally falls. That's not luck. That's training. Sarah didn't respond, just kept packing. You ever treat a gunshot wound? Mac asked. On dummies. Not the same. I know. Mac set the tourniquet down carefully. Keep your head down tonight. Do what Dalton says, you'll be fine. That's the plan. Good. Mac headed for the door, then paused. Callahan. Yeah. That ruck. It's organized exactly like Fisher's. Same system, same priorities, same muscle memory positioning. Mac's expression was unreadable. Makes me wonder what else you learned that you're not talking about. She left before Sarah could respond. Sarah stood alone, looking at her perfectly organized medical gear and wondered how long she could keep her secrets. The M4 carbine came next. Every operator going outside the wire carried one. Sarah checked the weapon she'd been issued with hands that moved automatically. Magazine out, chamber clear, bolt lock back, field strip, upper receiver separated from lower, bolt carrier group removed, charging handle out. Her fingers knew the sequence, muscle memory from 10,000 repetitions. She inspected each component, checked for fouling, for wear, for anything that could cause a malfunction when it mattered. 18 seconds to strip it, 17 to reassemble. Function check. Trigger pull. Safety selector. Magazine insertion. Bolt release. Perfect. Sarah froze, looking at her hands on the rifle. Those weren't the hands of a supply clerk. They were the hands of someone who'd been handling weapons since age 12. Someone whose father had made her field strip rifles until she could do it in her sleep. Someone who'd promised never to use those skills in combat. She set the rifle down carefully, stepped back. "I'm just carrying it for protection," she told the empty tent. "That's all, just protection." The tent canvas offered no absolution. At 2100 hours, she stood beside Humvee 3 with her medical ruck and rifle, watching the team conduct final checks. Lieutenant Nolan Fisher appeared beside her. 32, tired eyes that had seen too much, 8 months deployed without a break. "Callahan, right?" "Yes, sir." "Fisher, but everyone calls me Doc." "Probably should call you that too, huh?" Sarah shook her head. "I'm supply, sir. You're the Doc. Admiral says you're top of your class, honor graduate." "I did well in school, sir." "Modesty," Fisher smiled. "Refreshing. Look, I'm primary medical. You're backup. Chances are you won't have to do anything. This should be simple. In and out. Should be Sabina. Doc, and yeah, should be Miami. But this is Afghanistan. Nothing simple." He gestured at her ruck. "If things go sideways and I go down, can you handle it?" Sarah thought about her father's training, the thousands of hours, the relentless drilling, the perfectionism that bordered on obsession. "Yes, Doc, I can handle it." "Good enough for me." Captain Dalton's voice cut through the night. "Mount up." Sarah climbed into Humvee 3. Mackenzie driving, Kowalski passenger seat, Sarah and Fisher in back with 2 more SEALs. The ruck sat between her boots, 45 pounds of potential. The rifle rested across her lap, safety on, magazine loaded, chamber empty, per protocol. Her hands were steady. The convoy rolled out at 2200. 4 Humvees, 12 operators, 1 objective, simple mission. Sarah watched FOB Dwyer disappear behind them and prayed it stayed simple. Afghanistan had other plans. They reached Wadi Bahar at 2300, a dry riverbed cutting through the valley, deep enough to hide vehicles, close enough to the target for a quick approach. Dalton's voice crackled over the radio. "All vehicles hold position. Scouts forward." The convoys stopped, engines idling. In the silence, Sarah could hear her own heartbeat. 2 SEALs dismounted, melted into darkness. Night vision made them visible for 3 seconds, then they were gone. 5 minutes crawled past. 10, 15. The radio crackled. "Captain, we have eyes on target, no exterior security, lights in 2 structures. Looks quiet." "Roger, stand by." Dalton switched to convoy frequency. "All elements prepare to advance. Humvees 1 and 2 establish overwatch. 3 and 4 move to compound. Execute on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark." The world exploded. The IED detonated under Humvee 1 with a sound that redefined violence. Light, heat, pressure. The blast wave hit Sarah's vehicle like a physical fist. Her Humvee rocked. Someone screamed, then came the gunfire. Muzzle flashes erupted from positions Sarah hadn't known existed. AK-47s on full automatic. PKM machine guns. The distinctive crack of SVD sniper rifles. Dozens of weapons, maybe more. This wasn't a simple raid. This was a perfectly orchestrated ambush. "Contact, contact," Kowalski's voice. "Humvee 1 is hit. Vehicle destroyed, multiple casualties." "Dalton, all elements return fire. Get those wounded to cover." Mackenzie threw the Humvee into reverse. Tactical driving, getting to a defensible position. Through the window, Sarah saw Humvee 1, overturned, burning, 4 bodies crawling away from the wreckage. 1 wasn't moving at all. Fisher grabbed his medical ruck. "I'm going." "Doc, wait for." But Fisher was already out the door, running toward the casualties through a curtain of bullets. Sarah watched through the armored glass, watched Fisher reach the first casualty, watched him start treatment, watched the dark stains spread across his left shoulder. He'd been hit. Fisher kept working, 1 arm useless, blood pouring down, trying to treat someone else while bleeding out himself. Sarah's training screamed at her. Treat the caregiver first, always. If the medic falls, everyone dies. She watched Fisher collapse, watched him try to get up, watched him fall again. 4 casualties now, including their only trained medic. Sarah's hands moved to her ruck. "What are you doing?" Kowalski shouted. She didn't answer. Grabbed her ruck, grabbed her rifle, kicked open the door. "Callahan, get back!" She ran, 45 pounds on her back, 5'3", 118 pounds, running through hell toward burning metal and dying men. Bullets cracked past her head. Supersonic snaps. The sound of death missing by inches. She didn't stop. Fisher first. She dropped beside him. Shrapnel wound, left shoulder, arterial involvement. He was bleeding out fast. Callahan! What? Get back! Shut up and let me work. Her hands moved with practiced speed. Cat tourniquet from the side pouch. High on the upper arm, 2 inches above the wound. Windlass rod through the slot. Turn, 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 until arterial spray stopped. 23 seconds. Fisher's eyes widened. That's perfect application. I said shut up. Combat gauze next. Z-fold. Pack the wound deep. Direct pressure. The hemostatic agent needed 3 minutes to work, but she didn't have 3 minutes. Next casualty. Private First Class Jennings. Not breathing. Chest still. Tension pneumothorax. Air trapped in chest cavity. Lung collapsed. Pressure building. Heart can't pump. Minutes to death. Her father's voice in memory. Landmarks matter. Second intercostal space midclavicular line. Don't guess. No. Sarah ripped open Jennings' vest, found the anatomical landmarks with her fingers. Counted ribs. First, second, midclavicular line, 14-gauge needle from her kit. No hesitation. Insert. Advanced through skin, through muscle, through pleura. Hiss. Trapped air rushed out. Pressure released. Jennings gasped. His chest expanded. Color returning. Get him oxygen, she told a SEAL who'd materialized beside her. 15 liters, non-rebreather mask. Next, Sergeant Wallace, sucking chest wound, right lateral chest, air being pulled into the thorax through the defect. Collapsed lung imminent, vented chest seal from her top pouch. Wipe the blood, apply the seal. 3 sides taped, 4th side vented for air escape. You're stable. Don't move. The gunfire was constant now. M4s answering, AK-47s. Explosions, chaos. Sarah worked through it. Tunnel vision. Nothing existed except the next casualty. Lance Corporal Briggs. Traumatic amputation. Left leg below knee. Severed completely. Massive blood loss. Tourniquet, high on the thigh. As high as anatomically possible. Windlass. Turn until the blood stops. Tighter than seems humane. But humane doesn't matter. Alive matters. Briggs screamed, I know it hurts. You're going to live. That's what matters. Morphine autoinjector, 10 milligrams intramuscular, into the uninjured thigh. The screaming faded to whimpers. 4th casualty, Private Dixon. Blast injuries. Multiple lacerations. Possible concussion. Not immediately life-threatening. Quick neuroassessment. Pupils equal and reactive. Follows commands. GCS-15. Bandaging. Pressure dressings. Monitoring. Stay down. You're okay. Sarah stood, looked around. 4 critical casualties. All stabilized. 11 minutes since the IED. Captain Dalton appeared beside her, blood streaming from a cut above his eye. His expression was pure shock. What did you just do? Sarah was breathing hard, adrenaline crashing. My job, sir? Fisher's down. Jennings wasn't breathing. Wallace had an open chest wound. Briggs lost a leg. All stable now, sir. You did that in 11 minutes under fire. Yes, sir. Dalton keyed his radio. Base, this is Viper 6. 4 urgent surgical casualties, all stabilized for transport. Request immediate medevac. The response came quickly. Roger, Viper 6. Birds inbound. ETA 10 minutes. Dalton looked at Sarah again. Who taught you to work like that? The question hung in the smoke and cordite. Sarah met his eyes. No point hiding now. My father, sir. Gunnery Sergeant Patrick Callahan. Marine Scout Sniper. Recognition flashed across Dalton's face. Eagle-Eye Callahan. Yes, sir. Your father was a legend. Yes, sir. And he taught you medicine. Among other things, sir. Dalton's gaze dropped to her hands. Steady despite everything. Despite the blood. Despite the chaos. We'll talk later. Right now, stay with these casualties. Keep them stable. Yes, sir. The medevac helicopters arrived 10 minutes later. 2 Blackhawks. Rotors thundering. Dust turning the world opaque. Sarah helped load casualties. Fisher first. Still conscious. Still pale. You saved my life, Doc, he said as they lifted his stretcher. That's the job. No, that was mastery. I've been a corpsman for 8 years. What you did, that was exceptional. Sarah didn't respond, just moved to the next patient. The flight medic stopped her before the birds lifted off. Who did this initial care? I did. He checked her name tape. Callahan, you there, Corman? No, that's Lieutenant Fisher. He's one of the casualties. Then who are you? I am supply clerk. The medic stared. Supply clerks don't perform needle decompressions and high and tight tourniquets like this. This is advanced trauma care. Who really did this? Sarah sighed. I'm a Navy corpsman, trained at Great Lakes and Field Med School, currently assigned to supply for personal reasons. The medic studied her another moment, then nodded slowly. Well, Corpsman Callahan, you saved 4 lives tonight. Maybe the best pre-hospital care I've seen in 20 years. The helicopters lifted off, disappeared into darkness. The mission was scrubbed. The convoy limped back to FOB Dwyer, arriving at 0300. Sarah sat in Humvee 3, silent, exhausted, blood covering her uniform. Not hers, theirs. Kowalski turned around from the passenger seat. His expression had completely changed. Doc. Sarah looked up. I called you supply girl. I dismissed you. I was wrong. I'm sorry. You didn't know, Chief. That's not an excuse. He paused. What you did tonight, I've served with corpsmen for 15 years. That was the finest trauma care under fire I've ever witnessed. Mackenzie spoke from the driver's seat. Where did you really train? Great Lakes Naval Station, Field Medical Service School at Lejeune. And your father taught you the rest? Not a question. Sarah answered anyway. Yes. The radio crackled. Dalton's voice from the lead Humvee. Callahan, when we get back, you and I are having a very long conversation. Yes, sir. The Humvees rolled through the darkness toward the FOB. Sarah touched her father's dog tag under her blood-soaked uniform. I didn't shoot, Dad, she whispered. I kept my promise, just healing, that's all. But somewhere in the back of her mind, a question formed that she didn't want to answer. What happens when healing alone isn't enough? The FOB gates opened. The convoy rolled through. Sarah knew her invisible days were over. Chief Kowalski turned around one more time. Doc, I saw that photo in your tent, your old man with his rifle. Sarah tensed. Tomorrow, Kowalski continued quietly, we need to talk about what else he taught you. The Humvee parked. Sarah climbed out with her bloody ruck and unused rifle. And she knew that soon, very soon, someone would ask her to break her promise. The question was, would she? Dawn came to FOB Dwyer in shades of copper and ash. Sarah stood outside the medical tent, watching the sun climb over the Hindu Kush. She'd spent the night cleaning equipment that was already sterile, reorganizing supplies that didn't need reorganizing, anything to keep her hands busy, anything to avoid thinking about the blood. At 0730, a runner found her, young private, nervous eyes. Corpsman Callahan, Captain Dalton wants to see you now. Sarah wiped her hands on her trousers. They were clean, had been clean for hours. She wiped them anyway. Lead the way. Dalton's office was plywood and determination. Barely big enough for a desk, 2 chairs, and the weight of command. Maps covered every wall. Radio equipment hummed like mechanical breathing. Dalton sat behind the desk. He looked like he hadn't slept. Probably hadn't. Sit down, Callahan. Sarah sat. For 30 seconds, Dalton just looked at her. Those pale blue eyes that had seen too much and judged everything. Then he spoke. I contacted the Combat Support Hospital this morning. All 4 casualties are stable. Fisher keeps his arm. Jennings is breathing independently. Wallace's lung is reinflated. Briggs is being flown to Landstuhl for a prosthetic fitting. That's excellent news, sir. The head surgeon said something interesting. He said whoever did the pre-hospital care had skills he'd rarely seen. Perfect procedures, 0 mistakes. Lives saved by competence under impossible conditions. Sarah waited. He assumed Fisher did it. I told him Fisher was one of the casualties. Dalton leaned forward. So I need you to tell me the truth. What's your real background? No point in lies now. Navy corpsman, sir, Great Lakes Naval Station. Graduated in the top 5%. Field Medical Service School at Camp Lejeune, top 2% there. Skills like that don't get assigned to supply. I requested supply, sir. Dalton's eyebrows rose. You requested it? Yes, sir. Why would someone with your training request a non-medical position? Sarah's hand moved to her dog tags. Unconscious gesture she couldn't suppress. Personal reasons, sir. And the rifle skills, your father was Patrick Callahan. I looked him up. Eagle Eye, Marine Scout Sniper, 157 confirmed kills over 2 tours. A legend. Yes, sir. Did he train you? From age 12 until he got sick. 5 years of training, sir. Why did you stop? Sarah's jaw tightened, the old grief rising. Lung cancer. He died 3 years ago in a VA hospital. Before he passed, I made him a promise. What kind of promise? That I would use my hands to save lives, not take them. Understanding settled over Dalton's face. So you became a corpsman? Yes, sir. And you avoid situations where you might have to shoot? Yes, sir. I serve. I heal. I don't kill. Dalton nodded slowly, stood, walked to the map on the wall, stared at it for a long moment. Admiral Brennan knows all this. He served with my father for 7 years, sir. He was at the funeral. He knows everything. And he assigned you here, to a forward operating base in a combat zone. At my request, sir, I wanted to serve where I was needed. I just wanted to serve as a healer, not a warrior. Dalton turned back to face her. Callahan, I'm going to be direct. What you did last night was extraordinary. 4 critical casualties. Under fire, under pressure, perfect execution. I was doing my job, sir. No, Dalton's voice hardened. Your job is supply clerk. What you did was function as an elite combat medic. There's a difference. He moved back to his desk, placed both hands flat on the surface. Fisher's out for at least 6 weeks. Shoulder surgery. We need medical support. Someone who can do what you did. Someone I can trust when rounds are flying and people are dying. Sarah's chest tightened. Sir, effective immediately, you're redesignated. Combat medical support. You'll maintain supply duties when possible. But when we go outside the wire, you're our corpsman. Sir, I'm not sure that wasn't a request, Corpsman Callahan. That was an order. Yes, sir. Dalton's expression softened fractionally. Dismissed, and Callahan, she stood. Sir, your father would have been proud of what you did last night. Sarah's throat closed. She managed to nod, then left before the tears could form. The Combat Support Hospital occupied the south side of the FOB, shipping containers converted to treatment rooms. Tense for recovery. The smell of disinfectant fighting a losing battle against the dust. Sarah found Fisher in a recovery bed, awake, pale. Left arm immobilized in a complex sling. IV running into his right arm. His eyes found her immediately. Doc, how are you feeling? Like I got shot. He managed a weak smile. But alive because of you. Sarah pulled up a chair. I did what anyone would have done. No, Fisher's voice was firm despite his obvious weakness. I'm a corpsman, 8 years. I know good care. I know exceptional care. What you did was exceptional. He reached out with his good hand, found hers, squeezed with surprising strength. I was bleeding out, going into shock. I knew I was done. Then you appeared, tourniquet in under 30 seconds. Perfect application. You saved my life, Doc. You would have done the same. Maybe, but I don't know if I could have done it that fast, that clean, under fire. His eyes searched hers. Where did you really train? Great Lakes, Field Med School. That's technical knowledge. What you demonstrated was something else. Experience. Or genius. Or both. Sarah looked away. My father was a Marine Scout sniper. He believed medical skills and tactical skills were 2 sides of the same coin. He trained me in both. Fisher's expression changed. Eagle Eye Callahan. I've heard the stories. Most people have. He taught you to shoot too. Not a question. Yes. But you don't. No. Why not? Sarah's hand moved to her dog tags again. The gesture was becoming automatic. Because I promised him I wouldn't, and I keep my promises. Fisher nodded, released her hand. Well, whatever promises you made, I'm grateful you were there. I owe you my life, Doc. If you ever need anything, and I mean anything, you ask. Just focus on healing. That's all I need. Fair enough. He paused. Thank you for saving me. You're welcome. Outside the hospital, the midday heat was brutal. Sarah walked toward the chow tent, not hungry, but routine helped. Structure helped. Chief Kowalski intercepted her halfway. Doc, got a minute? They walked to the perimeter, found shade under a blast barrier. The mountains rose in the distance, timeless and uncaring. Kowalski shifted his weight, uncomfortable. I need to say something. Chief, let me finish. He held up a hand. I called you supply girl. I dismissed your capabilities. I didn't take you seriously. And last night while I was laying down suppressive fire, you were saving 4 lives under the same fire. You were doing your job, Chief, and you were doing yours, except your job was infinitely harder than mine. He paused. I talked to Mac. She said you field stripped an M4 in 35 seconds last week, like you'd done it 10,000 times. Sarah's stomach dropped. And I saw that photo, your old man with his rifle, and I put it together. Kowalski met her eyes. He didn't just teach you medicine, he taught you to fight. Sarah stayed silent. You don't have to confirm it. I can see it in how you move, how you check corners, how your hands fall to positions on your rifle even when you're not thinking about it. You've had professional training. Chief, I'm not going to push. If you don't want to shoot, that's your call. I respect it. He adjusted his rifle. But I want you to know something. If things ever get bad enough that you need to break whatever promise you made, we've got your back. All of us. Sarah's throat tightened. I appreciate that. Call me Garrett. We're past formalities. He started to walk away, then stopped. One more thing, Doc. Last night you ran through gunfire to reach us. No hesitation. That takes a special kind of courage. He left her standing by the blast barrier, touching dog tags and wondering how long she could keep refusing to use skills she possessed. 2 days passed in a new routine. Sarah still managed supply, but now she also attended tactical briefings, reviewed medical protocols, trained with the team. The SEALs treated her differently, with respect, with acceptance, but also with curiosity. They'd seen her use one hand, the healing hand, and they wondered about the other. The emergency briefing came at 2200 hours, third night after the ambush. Every operator at FOB Dwyer assembled, Sarah included. No questions. She was part of the team now. Captain Dalton stood at the front. His expression was grave. We have time-sensitive intelligence. Taliban commander, Abu Rashid, operating 8 clicks northwest. He's coordinating a major attack. The satellite image appeared. Different compound, different valley, same mountains. Rashid is planning an ambush on a supply convoy scheduled to move day after tomorrow. Route 611. 43 Marines in that convoy. Silence in the room. Everyone understood. 43 lives. We need to eliminate Rashid before the convoy moves. Mission window is 36 hours. Dalton clicked to the next slide. Problem. Petty Officer Daniels broke his collarbone in a training accident this morning. He's our designated marksman. He's out. More silence, heavier now. I've requested a replacement sniper from Kandahar. They can't get anyone here in time. Dalton's jaw tightened. Without Overwatch, this mission is significantly more dangerous. But 43 Marines will die if we don't act. Admiral Brennan stood from the back of the room. May I, Captain? Dalton nodded. Brennan moved to the front. His eyes found Sarah, held her gaze. There's another option, but it requires someone to step far outside their comfort zone. Sarah's heart began to hammer. 3 years ago, I served with Gunnery Sergeant Patrick Callahan, one of the finest marksmen the Marine Corps ever produced. Before Patrick died, he did something remarkable. He trained his daughter. The room shifted, all eyes turning to Sarah. From age 12 to 17, 5 years of intensive training, she qualified expert marksman in civilian competitions. 98th percentile nationally. Her father told me personally that by age 16 she was a better natural shot than he was. Brennan's voice filled the room. Patrick's daughter is here. Corpsman Sarah Callahan. 2 nights ago she saved 4 lives with medical skills that surgeons called exceptional. Tonight I'm asking her to use the other skill her father taught her. Dalton spoke carefully. Admiral, with respect, Callahan hasn't fired a weapon in combat. This is an extremely difficult shot. 875 meters. Variable wind, at night. That's asking a lot from someone with 0 combat shooting experience. I'm aware of the difficulty, Captain. I'm also aware that 43 Marines will die without this shot. Silence. Sarah stood. Every eye tracked her movement. Permission to speak, sir. Brennan nodded. Before my father died, I made him a promise that I would never shoot in combat, that I would use my hands only to save lives, not take them. The silence was absolute. But if this mission fails, 43 Marines die tomorrow. 43 people with families, futures, lives ahead of them. Sarah's voice steadied. If I don't take this shot, I'm choosing to let them die. That's not healing. That's cowardice hiding behind a promise. She looked at Brennan, then at Dalton. I need to call my mother, sir. I need to tell her I'm breaking my word, and I need her to understand why. Brennan's expression softened. You have 1 hour, Corpsman. Use it well. The satellite phone connection was terrible. Static, delay. But Margaret Callahan's voice came through clearly enough. Sarah, honey, what's wrong? You sound upset. Mom, I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen. Of course. What is it? I'm going to break the promise I made to Dad, the one about never shooting. Silence on the line, then a sharp intake of breath. Oh, sweetheart. There are 43 Marines who are going to die tomorrow if I don't do this. I can make a shot nobody else here can make. But if I do it, I break my word. To Dad, to you, to myself. Static crackled. Sarah's eyes burned. Mom, are you still there? I'm here, baby. I'm thinking about what your father would say. He made me promise. He made you promise because he was dying and terrified. Terrified that you'd follow him into combat and never come home. Terrified that I'd lose you the same way I was losing him. Margaret's voice cracked. But your father didn't train you for trophies, Sarah. He didn't spend 5 years teaching you to shoot so you could win medals. He trained you to protect people, to save lives. That's what shooting was always about for him. But I promised. I know what you promised, and I'm the one who made you swear it. After the funeral, when I was drowning in grief and fear. Margaret's voice strengthened. But I was wrong, sweetheart. I was trying to keep you safe by keeping you small, by making you hide your capabilities. Tears streamed down Sarah's face. Mom, make the shot. Save those Marines. Your father isn't disappointed. He's proud. And so am I. Are you sure? I've never been more certain of anything in my life. Your dad always said it, remember, heal when you can. Fight when you must. I remember. Then fight, baby. Those Marines need you. And when you make that shot, know that your father is right there with you, guiding your hand, just like he always did. The line went dead. Sarah sat in the communications tent, crying silently until the tears ran dry. Then she wiped her face, stood, walked back to the operations center. Admiral Brennan was waiting outside. Did you make your call? Yes, sir. And Sarah met his eyes. How far is the shot? Brennan's expression shifted. Pride, respect, something almost like relief. 875 meters. Wind 7 knots variable. Elevated firing position. I can make it, sir. I know you can. Your father told me you were better than him by 16. Said watching you shoot was like watching art. Oh, Sarah's chest tightened. He said that to me, directly, multiple times. Brennan paused. But I need to ask, are you absolutely certain? Because once you break this promise, you can't unmake that choice. Sarah touched her father's dog tag through her uniform. Felt the metal warm from her skin. 43 Marines shouldn't die because I'm afraid to use a skill I have. I'm certain, sir. Then let's go show them what you can do. The range was dark except for lights at the firing line. A SEAL whose name Sarah didn't know brought out a Barrett M82A1 Monk, 50 caliber, 30 pounds. The same rifle her father had trained her on. Sarah picked it up. The weight was familiar, comforting, like shaking hands with an old friend. The SEAL watched her hands. You know this weapon. It was my father's favorite. She moved to the firing line, set the bipod, adjusted for her height, checked the scope, made minor adjustments to windage and elevation. Behind her, every SEAL at Fob Dwyer had gathered to watch. Dalton spoke from nearby. Whenever you're ready, Corpsman, 5 targets, 500 meters. Sarah settled into position, stock to shoulder, cheek weld perfect, eye to scope. And then she did something she hadn't done in 3 years. She let herself remember her father's voice, patient, demanding, loving. Control your breathing, baby girl. 4 counts in, 7 held. 8 released. Let your heart rate drop. 68 beats per minute. That's the sweet spot. Sarah inhaled. 4 counts, held. 7 counts, released. 8 counts. Her heart rate slowed. 70 beats, 68, 65. Perfect. Now find your natural point of aim. Let the rifle settle. Don't fight it. Work with it. The crosshairs settled on the first target. Center mass, 500 meters. Trigger press, not pull. Squeeze. Steady pressure. Surprise break. Her finger found the trigger. Pressure built gradually, consistently. The Barrett roared. A barburner. Recoil punched her shoulder. Familiar, expected, managed. Downrange the target, shredded. Dead center. Hit, someone called from the spotting scope. Sarah didn't pause. Cycled the bolt. Ejected brass, loaded fresh round. Acquired second target. Breathing, heart rate, natural point of aim. Press, boom. Hit, center mass. Third target, same sequence. Muscle memory from 10,000 repetitions. Boom, hit. Fourth target, boom, hit. Fifth target, boom, hit. Sarah cleared the weapon, safed it, stood, turned around. Every SEAL was staring, silence thick enough to touch. Mackenzie spoke first. Her voice was awed. 5 targets, 500 meters, 5 shots, all center mass under 2 minutes, and she hasn't touched a rifle in 3 years. Kowalski added quietly, her father taught her well. Dalton moved forward. Look downrange through binoculars at the shredded targets. Look back at Sarah. Can you make the shot 875 meters combat conditions? Sarah didn't hesitate. Yes, sir. You're certain? Yes, sir. Dalton nodded once. Then you're our marksman. He turned to the assembled SEALs. Anyone have a problem with that? Silence. Good. Mission brief in 30 minutes. Wheels up at 0200. Get some rest. The team dispersed. Sarah remained at the firing line looking at the Barrett. Admiral Brennan approached. How does it feel? Like coming home, sir, and like betraying everything I promised. It's both. That's what makes it hard. That's what makes it matter. Brennan put a hand on her shoulder. Your father would understand. More than that, he'd approve. Sarah looked up at the stars over Afghanistan. I hope you're right, sir. I am. Now go prep your gear. Tomorrow you save 43 lives, just a different way than you're used to. The mission brief was concise. 8 operators, 2 Humvees, approach via Wadi Bahar, establish overwatch position on a ridge 875 meters from target compound. Sarah would deploy with the Barrett, provide precision fire if needed. Primary objective, eliminate Abu Rashid if he appeared. Secondary objective, observe and gather intelligence for airstrike if needed. Low risk, high impact, simple plan, which meant it would definitely get complicated. They rolled out at 0200 hours. Sarah rode in Humvee 2, Mackenzie driving, Dalton in command, 2 other SEALs completing the load. The Barrett rested across her lap. 30 pounds, loaded, ready. Her medical ruck sat at her feet. 45 pounds, force of habit, always prepared to heal even on a mission to kill. The convoy moved through darkness. Night vision made the world green and grainy. The Wadi appeared exactly where intelligence predicted. They stopped 1 click from the target, dismounted, moved on foot. Sarah carried the Barrett and her medical ruck, 75 pounds on a 118 frame. Her body protested, her training held. She kept pace. The ridgeline required a climb, 300 meters of loose rock and desert scrub, 40 minutes of careful silent movement. They reached the firing position at 0315. Sarah set up the Barrett. Bipod deployed, scope glass clean, range card prepared, 875 meters to the target compound. 2 buildings, lights and windows, movement in courtyard, wind check, 7 knots, left to right, variable gusts, temperature, 68 degrees, elevation adjustment, 11.5 minutes of angle, windage, 2.5 minutes right. All the mathematics her father had drilled into her, all the physics, all the art disguised as science. Target compound in sight, Dalton whispered into the radio. Establishing overwatch. Base response. Copy, observe, and report. Sarah settled in, idoscope, watching, waiting, breathing slowly. 43 minutes passed, then movement in the courtyard. A man stepped into view, tall, bearded, satellite phone to his ear. Possible target, one of the SEALs whispered. Sarah tracked him through the scope. He moved to the second-floor window, stood framed by interior light. Confirm target ID, Dalton ordered. Another SEAL checked reference photos. That's him, that's Rashid. Dalton keyed his radio. Base, we have positive identification. Request permission to engage. Seconds stretched like hours. Permission granted. Eliminate the target. Dalton looked at Sarah. Can you make it? Sarah's heart rate was 72, higher than ideal. She controlled her breathing. Brought it down. 68. Perfect. Yes, sir. Wind. 7 knots. Steady. Compensated. Take the shot. Sarah's finger moved to the trigger. Everything her father taught her flowing through muscle memory. Rashid moved in the window, pacing, still talking. Wait. Patience. Let him settle. He stopped, faced outward. Perfect presentation. Sarah began her trigger press, steady pressure building. Then the wind gusted. 10 knots, not 7. She adjusted, but rushed. Overcorrected slightly, squeezed. The Barrett thundered. The shot broke. 0.8 of a second flight time. Impact. 8 inches left of target. Wall behind him. Rashid ducked. Disappeared inside. Miss, Kowalski breathed. Sarah's stomach dropped. After all that, after breaking her promise, after the confidence, she'd missed. Dalton's voice was calm, professional. Adjust. He'll check the damage. You'll get another shot. Sarah was already moving, cycling the bolt, ejecting brass, loading fresh round, her father's voice in memory. First shots fail sometimes, baby girl. Equipment, wind, adrenaline. Doesn't matter why. What matters is the second shot. Stay calm, trust your training, make it count. Wind check. The gust had passed. 7 knots. Steady again. Heart rate. 75 now. Adrenaline from the miss. She forced it down. Breathing. Control. 68. 12 seconds elapsed. Rashid reappeared, checking the bullet impact on the wall, probably thinking it was random harassing fire. Sarah centered the crosshairs. Wind compensation. Elevation. Everything perfect this time. No rush. No overcorrection. Just training. Just breathing. Just the shot. She pressed the trigger. The Barrett spoke. This time she knew. Before the bullet arrived, she knew. 0.8 of a second. Impact. Through the scope, she watched Rashid drop. Center mass. Instant. Hit, Dalton confirmed. Target down. Radio crackle from base. Ground team confirms kill. Target neutralized. Outstanding shooting. Sarah safed the weapon. Sat back from the scope. She'd done it. Broken her promise. Killed a man. Used skills her father taught her for their intended purpose. Her hands started shaking. Delayed adrenaline release. Kowalski put a hand on her shoulder. Hell of a second shot, Doc. First one wasn't your fault. Wind changed. Second was perfect. Mackenzie crouched beside her. You okay? I just killed someone. You just saved 43 Marines who would have died tomorrow. Sarah stared at her hands, the same hands that had saved Lieutenant Fisher, that had performed needle decompressions, that had applied tourniquets under fire, the same hands that had just ended a life. My father always said it, she whispered. Heal when you can, fight when you must, use both when you have to. Mackenzie squeezed her shoulder. Now you understand what he meant. The convoy returned to FOB Dwyer at 0600. Dawn painted the mountains pink and gold. Word had already spread. The supply girl had made the shot. 875 meters. At night, second shot perfect after the first missed. SEALs gathered as the Humvees parked. Watching. Waiting. Admiral Brennan stood at the center. Formal. Official. Corpsman Callahan front and center. Sarah dismounted, walked to him, came to attention. Brennan's voice carried across the assembly area. At 0347 this morning, Corpsman Callahan eliminated a high-value target. Abu Rashid, Taliban commander. 875 meters. One shot. One kill. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some of you know Corpsman Callahan as a supply clerk. Some know her as the medic who saved 4 lives under fire 3 days ago. Today, you'll know the whole truth. He gestured Sarah forward. She stood beside him, small, exhausted, carrying the weight of a broken promise, and 43 saved lives. Corpsman Callahan is the daughter of Gunnery Sergeant Patrick Callahan, Marine Scout Sniper, Eagle Eye, 157 confirmed kills, a legend in the Special Operations community. The crowd shifted, recognition spreading. Patrick trained his daughter from age 12 to 17. She qualified expert marksman, 98th percentile. When Patrick died 3 years ago, Sarah promised him she would never shoot in combat, that she would use her skills only to heal. Brennan's voice rose. Last night, she broke that promise, to save 43 Marines who would have been killed in an ambush on Route 611. She made the choice to use skills she'd sworn never to use again. That's courage. That's integrity. That's what makes a true warrior. He turned to Sarah. Your father isn't disappointed. He's proud, not just of the shot, of the choice, of understanding when healing alone isn't enough. Sarah's eyes burned. She refused to let the tears fall. Not here. Not now. Brennan faced the assembly again. Gunnery Sergeant Callahan taught his daughter something fundamental, that the best warriors don't choose between healing and fighting. They integrate both. They use whatever skill the situation requires. The entire FOB came to attention. Brennan saluted Sarah. Formal, precise, respectful. She returned it. Fighting the tears, fighting the grief, fighting the pride. The assembly saluted. 200 personnel, showing respect to the small woman who'd been invisible 2 weeks ago. When the salute dropped, Kowalski stepped forward. Doc, 2 weeks ago, I called you supply girl. I didn't see you, didn't respect you, didn't understand you. His voice cracked. You saved my teammate. Then you saved 43 people you've never met. And you did it by breaking a promise that meant everything to you. I was wrong about you. Completely. And I'm sorry. He extended his hand. Sarah shook it. Thank you, Garrett. Lieutenant Fisher appeared, arm still in a sling, face pale but determined. I told you if you ever needed anything you could ask. You didn't ask, but I'm giving it anyway. He held out a patch, custom made, medical cross in red, crosshairs in black, overlapping in the center. The motto stitched below, heal when you can, fight when you must. You use both skills, Doc. That's rare. This patch represents that. You've earned it. Sarah took the patch, traced the design. Thank you, Mackenzie joined them. The team wants you to know something. You're not supply, you're not backup, you're one of us, fully, completely. Dalton pushed through the crowd. Callahan, effective immediately, your designation is Combat Medical Officer and Designated Marksman. You're the first person in SEAL history to hold both positions simultaneously. Sarah found her voice. I understand, sir. Do you accept? She looked at the patch in her hands, at the faces around her, at the mountains rising behind the FOB. Yes, sir, I accept. Outstanding. Dalton almost smiled. Now get some rest. You've earned it. The crowd dispersed, heading to chow, to sleep, to whatever came next. Sarah stood alone holding the patch, feeling the weight of everything that had changed. She'd broken her promise, crossed a line, become something she'd sworn never to be. But she'd also saved 43 lives. Her father had been right. Sometimes you heal, sometimes you fight, sometimes you do both. Sarah walked toward her quarters, exhausted, changed, lighter somehow, despite everything. Behind her, she heard Kowalski talking to another SEAL. You realize what just happened? Doc made a tough shot. So what? No, Doc used medical skills one day, shooting skills another day, separately. And whoosh, and what happens when she has to use both at the same time? Sarah kept walking. She didn't know the answer, but something told her she was about to find out. 5 days later, Sarah stood on the range at dawn, teaching 3 young SEALs the difference between adequate medical care and life-saving intervention. Tourniquet application isn't about following steps, she said, demonstrating on a training dummy. It's about understanding circulation, about knowing when to apply high versus low, about reading the wound, not just the protocol. The SEALs watched with rapt attention. She wasn't supply girl anymore. She was Doc, the woman who'd saved lives and made impossible shots, the one who integrated skills they'd been told were separate. Chief Kowalski appeared at the edge of the range. His expression was grim. Doc, Captain needs you. Emergency briefing, now. Sarah handed the tourniquet to one of the young SEALs. Practice, high and tight. I'll test you later. She followed Kowalski across the FOB. The morning heat was already building. It would hit 1:10 by noon. What's the situation, she asked. Bad, that's all I know. The operations center was packed. Every SEAL at FOB Dwyer, plus Admiral Brennan, plus officers Sarah didn't recognize. Captain Dalton stood at the front. His face was carved from stone. Listen up. We have time-critical intelligence. Major weapons cache 15 clicks north. Includes Stinger missiles, anti-aircraft capability, enough to threaten every coalition helicopter in the province. The satellite image appeared. A compound built into a mountainside. Defensive positions visible. Multiple structures. This isn't a minor target. Intelligence estimates 30 to 40 Taliban fighters. Prepared positions, heavy weapons. This is their primary supply depot for the entire region. Silence settled over the room like fog. The cache is being relocated in 36 hours. If those stingers get distributed, we lose air superiority. Medevac becomes impossible. Resupply becomes suicide. Air support disappears. Dalton clicked to the next slide. 12 operators, night insertion via 2 MH-60S. Fast rope into the valley, secure the cache. Mark for demolition, extract before dawn. He paused. Let them absorb it. Casualty estimates are 25 to 30%. We're outnumbered 3 to 1. We're attacking a prepared position. This is the highest risk operation we've conducted this deployment. Sarah's stomach tightened. We need comprehensive medical support and precision fire capability. But we can only take 12 total. We can't afford dedicated specialists for each role. Dalton's eyes found Sarah. Corpsman Callahan, you've proven you can handle trauma care. You've proven you can shoot. Can you integrate both on the same mission? Transitioning between roles as the situation requires. Every eye in the room turned to her. What's the specific requirement if you're Provide immediate trauma care for casualties. Provide precision fire from overwatch positions. Carry full medical load plus the Barrett. Be ready to switch between roles with zero transition time. Kowalski spoke quietly. Doc, that's asking a lot. You'll be carrying 85 pounds. Medical ruck plus rifle plus ammunition. That's almost your body weight. Sarah met Dalton's eyes. I can do it, sir. For how long this could be at a 6-hour operation? As long as necessary, sir. You'll need to treat casualties under fire, then immediately engage targets, then back to medical repeatedly, without hesitation. My father trained me specifically for that, sir. Integration, not separation. Admiral Brennan spoke from the back. There's a difference between dual role and integrated operations, Captain. Dual role means switching between tasks. Integrated means doing both simultaneously, thinking tactically while treating wounds, assessing threats while managing patients. He looked at Sarah. That's what Gunnery Sergeant Callahan taught his daughter. True integration. Sarah nodded. Yes, sir. That's exactly what he taught me. Dalton studied her for a long moment, then nodded. You're our integrated operator. Medical and precision fire. Both roles, as needed. The briefing continued. Insertion plan, exfiltration routes, communication protocols, fire support coordination. Sarah absorbed every detail while her mind calculated load distribution, medical supplies, ammunition, water, food. 85 pounds organized for maximum efficiency. She'd trained for this. 10,000 hours with her father. Learning to treat casualties while maintaining tactical awareness. Learning to shoot while managing medical priorities. Heal when you can, fight when you must. Do both when you have to. Tonight she'd have to do both. The afternoon was preparation. Sarah worked alone in the supply tent, packing her medical ruck with obsessive precision. Every item positioned for instant access. Every pocket organized for one-handed retrieval. Tourniquets and side pouches. Both sides. Ambidextrous access. Chest seals in top pouch. Fastest possible deployment. Combat gauze in main compartment. Z folded and ready. IV supplies. Needle decompression kit. Surgical airway. Pain management. Everything she might need to keep someone alive long enough for extraction. 45 pounds, then weapons. Barrett M82A1. 30 pounds, 10 rounds of 50 caliber ammunition. Match grade. 5 pounds, M4 carbine as backup. 6 magazines, 5 pounds, total weight 85 pounds. Sarah lifted it all, adjusted the ruck, slung the Barrett, carried the M4. Her body screamed protest. Her training held firm. She walked 20 meters, turned, walked back. Mackenzie appeared in the doorway. Jesus, Doc, that's brutal. It's necessary. Can you really carry that for 6 hours? I've trained with heavier. Max stepped inside, helped adjust Sarah's ruck straps. Listen, I've been thinking about the casualty estimates. 25 to 30%. That's 3 or 4 of us. I know. If things go bad, really bad, you're going to have to choose. Medical or shooting. You can't do both if we're getting overrun. Sarah met her eyes. Then I'll do both anyway. Doc, my father had a saying, the situation doesn't care about your limitations. It only cares about what needs to be done. If I need to treat casualties and engage targets simultaneously, I will. Max stared at her, then nodded slowly. Okay, then we'll make sure you get the chance. At 2100 hours, Sarah stood by the helicopter with her gear. 2 MH-60 Blackhawks sat on the tarmac, rotors beginning to turn, dust starting to rise. The 12-man team conducted final checks. Weapons, ammunition, communications, night vision, everyone preparing for the worst. Lieutenant Fisher approached, still recovering but mobile. Doc. Hey, shouldn't you be resting? Couldn't let you roll without saying something. He paused. What you're about to do, integrated operations under fire. That's expert-level stuff. Most operators train for years to pull it off. My father started training me at 12. Still, this isn't a drill. This is real, and if things go sideways, I know, I'll handle it. Fisher studied her, then pulled something from his pocket. Another patch, identical to the one he'd given her before. Medical cross and crosshairs. Keep this one on you, for luck. Sarah took it. Thank you. Bring everyone home, Doc. Both hands. Both hands, she agreed. Captain Dalton's voice cut through the rotor noise. Mount up! Sarah climbed into Bravo Bird, found her seat between Mackenzie and Kowalski. 3 other SEALs filled the remaining positions. The ruck pressed against her back. The Barrett rested between her knees. The M4 across her lap. 85 pounds of capability and responsibility. The helicopter lifted off at 2200 hours. 2 birds, 12 operators, 1 objective. Sarah touched her father's dog tag through her uniform. Both hands, Dad, just like you taught me. The flight took 18 minutes across darkness. Inside the helicopter, no one spoke. The crew chief gave hand signals. 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 1 minute. Sarah's heart rate climbed. 80 beats, 85, 90. She controlled her breathing, brought it down. 72, better. The crew chief signaled 30 seconds. Landing zone ahead, dark valley, mountains surrounding. The compound invisible in the darkness, but present in the green glow of night vision. 10 seconds. The door opened. Wind roared inside. 5 seconds, the helicopter flared, nose up, tail down, landing. Go, go, go. Sarah followed Mackenzie out. Boots hit dirt, 85 pounds crushed down. Her knees wobbled. She locked them straight. Alpha Bird landed 200 meters away. Dalton's team dismounting. Both helicopters lifted immediately, disappeared into darkness. 12 SEALs stood alone in hostile territory. Dalton's voice over the radio. All elements, rally point, move. They moved through darkness, night vision painting the world in shades of green. The compound was 400 meters north. Intelligence said light resistance at night. The RPG proved intelligence wrong. It came without warning, smoke trail visible through night vision, heading straight for Sarah's position. RPG scatter. Sarah dove left. The grenade impacted where she'd been standing. Explosion, heat, pressure, shrapnel. Something hit her left shoulder. Hot, sharp. Pain lanced through her arm. She rolled. Came up with the M4, safety off, ready. Gunfire erupted everywhere. Muzzle flashes, AK-47s, PKM machine guns, dozens of weapons, maybe more. This wasn't light resistance. This was an ambush. Alpha team, take cover. Dalton's voice, strained, urgent. A second explosion, massive, different location. Through the chaos, Sarah saw flames, 200 meters away. Alpha team's area. The radio crackled with panic. Bird down, helicopter down. Sarah's blood turned to ice. One of their extraction helicopters hadn't left. It had been circling, providing overwatch. An RPG had found it. Now it was burning, crew inside, all injured or dead. An Alpha team was pinned between the burning helicopter and enemy fire. Dalton's voice, desperate. Bravo, we're pinned. 3 wounded, can't reach the bird. How bad? Sarah transmitted. Fisher's hit shoulder again. 2 others critical need medical. Now, Lieutenant Fisher, the man she'd saved before, hit in the same shoulder. Sarah assessed the tactical situation with cold clarity. Alpha team pinned, 200 meters away, 3 wounded, can't move. Downed helicopter 200 meters. Crew status unknown, probably wounded. Enemy estimated 25 fighters. Moving to flank Alpha's position. If they succeed, total overrun. Everyone dies. Time to overrun, 3 minutes. 4, maximum. Sarah made her decision. I'm going to the helicopter, she transmitted. Stabilize the crew, then provide overwatch for Alpha. Doc, that's suicide, Kowalski's voice. No, that's my job. She didn't wait for permission, grabbed the Barrett and her medical ruck. Started running, 85 pounds, across 200 meters. Through gunfire, bullets cracked past, supersonic snaps, death missing by inches. She ran anyway, 100 meters. Her lungs burned, legs trembling. Keep moving. 150 meters. Almost there. 200 meters. She reached the helicopter, slid behind the wreckage. Assessed. Pilot Chief Warrant Officer Hayes. Dead. Head trauma. Nothing she could do. Co-pilot Warrant Officer Martinez. Alive. Conscious. Compound fracture. Right leg. Bone protruding. Door gunner 1 Petty Officer Davis. Unconscious. Chest trauma. Shallow breathing. Door gunner 2, Seaman Brooks. Alive. Mobile. Minor injuries. Brooks saw her. Relief flooded his face. Doc, thank God. How bad are you? I'm okay. Martinez and Davis. I see them. Medical mode engaged. Martinez first. Compound fracture. No arterial involvement visible. Survivable with proper treatment. This will hurt, she told him. Just do it. She splinted the leg, wrapped it, immobilized the fracture. Morphine, 10 milligrams. Martinez gasped. Went quiet. Next, Davis, unconscious. Chest trauma. She checked his airway. Clear. Breathing. Shallow. 22 breaths per minute. Listened to his chest. Right side. Diminished breath sounds. Tension pneumothorax. Again. Third time in 2 weeks. Needle decompression. Second intercostal space. Midclavicular line. Insert. In advance. Hiss. Air release. Pressure equalized. Davis's breathing improved. Get him oxygen, she told Brooks, and keep him still. 3 casualties stabilized in 4 minutes. The radio crackled. Dalton, strained. Enemy flanking North Ridge, 15 to 20 fighters. We can't stop them. Sarah looked up. Through night vision, she saw them. Moving along the ridge. Advancing on Alpha's position. 800 meters away. Multiple targets. Elevated positions. If they reached Alpha Team 12, SEALs died. Sarah grabbed the Barrett, set up behind the helicopter wreckage. Range to targets 900 to 1100 meters. Variable. Moving. This wasn't one shot. This was sustained engagement. Brooks stared. Doc, what are you? Doing my job. Both parts. She pressed her eye to the scope. Started counting. 18 visible. 19. 20. Spread across the ridge. Advancing in teams. Professional. Coordinated. Sarah's heart rate was 90. Too high. She controlled her breathing. Brought it down. 75. Better but not perfect. Her shoulder throbbed. The shrapnel wound bleeding. Ignore it. She keyed her radio. Captain, I have eyes on the flanking force. I can engage. Doc, you're at the bird. Yes, sir. Crew stabilized. Now providing overwatch. You can't stop 20 fighters alone. I can slow them. Give you time to reposition. Silence. Then Dalton's voice. Quiet. Accepting. Make it count. Sarah settled into the scope. Priority targeting. Leaders first. Heavy weapons second. Riflemen third. Target 1 squad leader. Radio in hand. Directing movement. 1,000 meters. Wind check. 8 knots. Left to right. Elevation. 12 minutes of angle. Windage. 3 minutes right. Breathing. Heart rate 75. Press. Boom. Recoil punched her wounded shoulder. Pain flared white hot. She ignored it. Downrange. Target dropped. Cycle the bolt. Eject brass. Load fresh round. Target 2 heavy machine gunner. Setting up PKM 980 meters. Adjust. Acquire. Breathe. Press. Boom. Hit. Machine gun silent. The enemy force scattered. Taking cover. Confused about the sniper's position. Sarah didn't give them time to think. Target 3 RPG operator. Kneeling. Preparing to fire at Alpha Team. 1,050 meters. Lead the target. Compensate for movement. Press. Boom. Hit. RPG operator down. Rocket unfired. She kept shooting. Target 4, 5, 6, 7. Methodical. Mechanical. Each shot calculated. Each shot mattering. Her shoulder was agony now. Blood soaking her uniform. Ignore it. Keep shooting. Target 8 fighter with radio. Calling for reinforcements. 920 meters. Boom. Hit. Target 9 sniper positioning on ridge. 1,240 meters. This was the shot. The impossible one. Maximum range. Variable wind. Wounded shooter. Moving target. Sarah remembered her father's voice. When the shot matters most, baby girl, that's when you must be calmest. Breathing. Controlled. Precise. Heart rate. 72 despite everything. Wind gust. Wait for it to settle. Target moving. Predict the path. Lead. Compensate. Trust the training. Press. Boom. 1.2 seconds flight time. The target dropped. Brooks whispered behind her. That's impossible. That shot is impossible. Sarah didn't respond, kept shooting, 90 seconds into the engagement. 12 targets down. The enemy attack faltered, broke, started retreating up the ridge. Sarah tracked them, took 2 more, 13 total. The flanking attack had failed. She safed the Barrett, sat back. Her shoulder was bleeding heavily now. The recoil had torn the wound wider. Her hands trembled with delayed adrenaline. But Alpha Team was alive. Dalton's voice on the radio, stunned. Doc, did you eliminate the entire flanking force? 13 targets, sir, the rest retreated. 13 targets in 90 seconds, at ranges up to 1,240 meters, while wounded. Sarah looked at her shoulder, blood everywhere. Yes, sir, Mackenzie's voice, awed. She just saved all of us, the whole unit. Everyone would be dead. Kowalski, both hands. Doc, you used both hands. Dalton, stay at the bird, protect the wounded. We're moving to your position. Copy, sir. Sarah slumped against the helicopter wreckage. The adrenaline was crashing now, pain flooding in, exhaustion overwhelming her. But they were alive, all 12 SEALs. The crew, Everyone. Brooks appeared beside her. Doc, you're bleeding bad. I know. Check the others first. They're stable. You're not. She let him examine the shoulder. Shrapnel wound, deep, arterial bleeding. Not immediately fatal, but serious. Pressure dressing, she told him. Tight. I'll live. His hands shook as he applied the bandage. You just saved everyone. While hit. That's training, Sarah said. Just training. 5 minutes later, Alpha Team reached the helicopter. Dalton, Kowalski, Mackenzie, Fisher on a stretcher. 2 other wounded SEALs. Dalton stared at Sarah, at the blood soaking her uniform, at the Barrett, at the stabilized casualties. You did medical care and precision fire, both, simultaneously. Yes, sir. 13 enemy combatants, while wounded, while treating casualties. Yes, sir. He shook his head. That's the most remarkable combat performance I've ever witnessed. Fisher spoke from his stretcher. Pale. Weak. You saved me again, Doc. 3rd time. Just returning previous favors. The quick reaction force arrived 20 minutes later. 3 helicopters, medical evacuation, heavy security. Sarah insisted on riding with the wounded, monitoring vitals, adjusting IVs. Despite her own injury, the flight medic tried to treat her. She waved him off. Critical patients first. I'm stable. He looked at her with something like reverence. Doc, you're bleeding through the dressing. Then change the dressing, but treat Davis first. He needs constant monitoring. The medic shook his head, did as she ordered. They landed at FOB Dwyer at 0430. Dawn was breaking, pink and gold across the mountains. Admiral Brennan stood on the landing pad. He'd monitored the entire mission via radio. Sarah stepped off the helicopter, swaying, blood loss, exhaustion. 85 pounds of gear for 6 hours. Brennan caught her arm, steadied her. You're wounded. Sir, I need to report. You need medical treatment. That's an order. The combat support hospital physician removed 12 pieces of shrapnel from Sarah's shoulder. 3 required surgical extraction, 9 stitches to close. She sat through it without flinching. Staring at the wall, the doctor worked in silence, then spoke. I heard what you did. Just my job, sir. No. He tied off the final stitch. I've been a trauma surgeon for 22 years. I know the difference between doing your job and achieving the impossible. He bandaged the shoulder. You treated multiple casualties while wounded, then engaged 13 enemy combatants at extreme range, while wounded. That shouldn't be physiologically possible. My father taught me integration, sir, not separation. He taught you something that's going to revolutionize how we train combat medics. On at 0800, Admiral Brennan assembled the entire FOB, 200 personnel in formation. Sarah stood at the front, shoulder bandaged, uniform bloodstained, exhausted beyond measure. Brennan's voice carried across the formation. 12 days ago, most of you knew Corpsman Sarah Callahan as the supply clerk, the quiet woman who counted bandages and stayed invisible. Absolute silence. 10 days ago, she saved 4 lives during an ambush. Trauma care that surgeons called exceptional. He paused, let them absorb it. 7 days ago, she made an 875-meter shot to eliminate a high-value target, breaking a promise she'd kept for 3 years to save 43 Marines. The formation shifted. Everyone knew this story. Last night, Corpsman Callahan integrated both skills. She treated 4 crew members from a downed helicopter while wounded. Then she engaged 13 enemy combatants at ranges up to 1,240 meters in 90 seconds. While wounded, murmurs rippled through the crowd. That engagement stopped a flanking attack that would have overrun Alpha Team. All 12 SEALs would have died. Then Bravo Team, then the helicopter crew. Total casualties, all 24 personnel on the mission. Brennan's voice rose. Corpsman Callahan didn't just save individuals. She didn't just save a team. She saved the entire unit, every single operator, because she understands something fundamental that most of us are still learning. He turned to Sarah. The best warriors aren't specialists. They're integrators. They don't choose between healing and fighting. They assess what's needed and do it, with whatever skills the situation requires. The formation erupted. Applause. Cheering. SEALs who never showed emotion were shouting. Kowalski stepped forward, tears streaming down his face. 12 days ago, I called you Supply Girl. Today, I'm telling you that you're the finest operator I've ever served with. Period. And I will spend the rest of my career trying to be half as good as you. He saluted, formal, precise, respectful. Sarah returned it, her own tears finally falling. Fisher appeared on crutches. 3rd time wounded, Third time saved by the same woman. Doc, you've saved my life 3 times. I owe you everything. We all do. Mackenzie hugged her. You're not just one of us. You're better than all of us. The formation dissolved into congratulations. SEALs surrounding her, thanking her, some crying. Sarah stood in the center, overwhelmed, changed, complete. She'd used both hands, integrated skills she'd been told were separate, proven that healing and fighting weren't opposites, but complements, just like her father taught her. 6 months later, Naval Special Warfare Center, Coronado, California. Sarah stood at the front of a classroom, sunlight streaming through windows, ocean visible in the distance. 24 students sat in rows. Navy corpsmen, Army medics, Air Force pararescue. Young faces, eager eyes. The future. Behind her, the whiteboard read Integrated Combat Medicine. Instructor HM1 Callahan. Good morning, she began. I'm Petty Officer First Class Sarah Callahan. Some of you know my story. Most of you probably don't. That's fine, because this course isn't about me. It's about teaching you to integrate skills that most people think are separate. She clicked to the next slide. A photo of her father in dress blues, rifle in hand, the inscription visible, use both hands. This is Gunnery Sergeant Patrick Callahan, Marine Scout Sniper, my father. He taught me that the strongest operators aren't specialists. They're integrators, people who can assess a situation and use whatever skill it requires. Next slide, medical supplies beside a rifle. Today begins 8 weeks of the hardest training you've ever experienced. You're going to learn to think like a medic and a marksman simultaneously, to assess casualties while assessing threats, to stop bleeding while engaging targets, to transition between roles so fluidly that they stop being separate roles and become one integrated capability. A student raised his hand, young, nervous. Instructor, is it really possible to do both at the same time? Sarah smiled. Don't call me instructor. I'm HM1 Callahan, or Doc. And yes, it's possible. I'll prove it. She walked to the training area, set up a medical dummy with simulated injuries, placed a rifle beside it, set up a target 600 meters downrange. Scenario? Your teammate has a femoral artery injury, 90 seconds until he bleeds out. But there's an enemy fighter at 600 meters targeting your position. You can't do both, right? You have to choose, medical or shooting. The students shifted uncomfortably. Sarah demonstrated. Drop to the dummy, tourniquet application, 22 seconds. Grab the rifle. Engage the distant target, 8 seconds. Hit. Back to medical. Combat gauze. Wound packing. Pressure dressing. Total time 58 seconds. The students stared. That's integration, Sarah said. You didn't see me choose. You saw me do both. Because the situation required both. A student spoke. How long did it take you to learn that? My father started training me at 12. By 17, I could transition in under 30 seconds. But you don't need to master it to start. You just need to begin, and you begin today. The course ran 8 weeks, intensive, demanding. Students dropped out. Others pushed through. Sarah taught them everything her father had taught her. Medical skills, marksmanship, but more importantly, integration. The ability to think across disciplines, to see problems holistically rather than sequentially. By week 4, her students could treat casualties and engage targets within 90 seconds. By week 8, they were doing it in under 60. The graduation ceremony was small, just the 24 who'd completed the course. Some observers. Admiral Brennan, now retired but still present. After the ceremony, Brennan found Sarah. Your father would be extraordinarily proud. I hope so, sir. I know so. I talked to him the week before he died. He said something I never forgot. Brennan's voice softened. He said Sarah's going to change everything. She's going to show the military that integration is superior to specialization, that you don't have to choose between healer and warrior. You can be both. Sarah's eyes burned. He was right, Brennan continued. The both hands methodology has been adopted by Naval Special Warfare. Army Special Forces requested the curriculum. Air Force Special Operations is implementing it. Marines are developing their own version. I heard, sir. More than that, combat mortality rates in units using integrated operators have dropped 23%. 23%, Sarah. That's hundreds of lives saved. Lives that wouldn't have been saved under the old system. He handed her a folder. This is the official documentation. Your program is now standard training for all special operations medical personnel. Every branch, every unit. Sarah opened the folder, read the official letterhead, Department of Defense, approved training curriculum. She touched her father's dog tag through her uniform. He'd be happy about this. He is happy, wherever he is. Brennan smiled. You've built a legacy, not just for yourself, for him, for everyone he trained, for everyone you'll train. That evening, Sarah walked the beach, Coronado Island, sunset painting the sky orange and purple and gold. She pulled out her phone, called her mother. Hi, Mom. Sarah, sweetheart, how was graduation? Perfect, all 24 passed. Your father would be so proud. I'm proud. Admiral Brennan was there. He told me something Dad said before he died. What was it? That I'd show people you don't have to choose. Healer or warrior. You can be both. Margaret's voice thickened with emotion. That's exactly what he believed. That's why he trained you the way he did. Not to make you a shooter, not to make you a medic, to make you both. Integrated. Complete. They talked for 30 minutes. About family, about Montana, about the future. When Sarah hung up, the sun had set completely, stars appearing overhead. She stood, walked back toward her quarters. Inside, her gear wall was organized with perfect precision. Left side medical ruck, trauma supplies, IV bags, everything needed to save lives. Right side rifle case, Barrett M82A1, ammunition. Everything needed to protect lives. Center photos arranged in a careful display, her father in dress blues. The both hands patch, a photo from Afghanistan with her team, her first graduating class of integrated operators, and in the very center a new addition, a framed letter, official, embossed, Department of Defense commendation, for developing integrated combat methodology, for reducing combat mortality rates, for changing how the military trained its medics. Below the letter, she'd placed her father's inscription, the one from the photograph, carefully preserved. Use both hands, baby girl. Heal when you can. Fight when you must. I'll always be with you. Her phone rang. Captain Dalton, still deployed, still leading SEALs. Doc, sorry to call late. Never too late for you, sir. What's the situation? High-risk personnel recovery, multiple casualties expected, enemy sniper threat, complex terrain. Sarah smiled. Let me guess. You need medical and precision fire. Both hands, Doc. Can you be wheels up in 2 hours? Sarah looked at her gear wall, at her father's photo, at the legacy they'd built together. 1 hour, sir. I'm always ready. That's why you're the best. Airfield at 2200. Sarah grabbed her medical ruck from the left side of the wall, grabbed her rifle case from the right side, both hands, just like her father taught her. She walked to the door, paused, looked back one more time at the photos. Her father's image seemed to smile in the dim light. I understand now, Dad, she said quietly. It was never about choosing. It was always about integration, about being complete, about using every skill I have to serve. She touched her dog tags one final time. Both hands, always both hands. The door closed behind her. Outside, a helicopter was already spinning up. Rotors beginning to turn. Another mission, another chance to heal. Another chance to fight. Another chance to do both. Sarah Callahan walked across the tarmac with 85 pounds of gear and a lifetime of training. Supply girl, combat medic, designated marksman, healer, warrior, integrator. She was all of them. And none of them. Because she'd transcended the labels. She was simply what her father had trained her to be. Complete. The helicopter lifted off into the California night. And somewhere in the space between stars, Gunnery Sergeant Patrick Eagle Eye Callahan watched his daughter fly toward another mission and smiled. She'd understood, finally, completely. The strongest warriors don't choose. They integrate. They use both hands, always both hands.